Hi, and welcome to another episode of Celebrating Small Family Businesses, where we celebrate passion in action. Today we are celebrating Staged Right LLC with Andrea and Ray Bryant. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Ray.
How are we doing?
Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having
So
us.
Thank you.
we always like to start with like how you got here, and I think it's from what I've learned quite a journey. So, but how did you get to Staged Right?
I was a second grade teacher for 20 years, and I kind of had enough of teaching things I don't believe in and ways I don't believe in, and just, kind of beating kids up with testing that I felt like we were doing as second graders. So, Ray said, "Why don't you stop teaching and do something else?" I said, "Oh, you said it. You can't take it back now." So I started flipping houses. We did a few and they were okay. It was kind of like this, make some money, oop, lose some money up, just kind of a little bit of a roller coaster like that. And the girl that was staging my houses when we flipped them, I was talking to her one day on the phone and she said, "Hey, I'm moving to Savannah." I said, "What are you doing with your business?" Because I knew she had enough furniture to stage 60 houses. I said, "What are you doing with your business?" She said, "Oh, I'm going to sell it." I said, she goes, "Well, wait a minute. Why don't you buy it?" I said, "Me buy it? I don't know anything about that. I can teach kids how to read, but I don't know anything about that." She said, "I've seen your flips. They're beautiful. You can do it. It's not rocket science." I was like, hmm. So I went into him and I said, he said, "Who was on the phone?" I said, "Oh, the stager who stages for us." And he said, "What's she up to?" I said, "Well, she's selling her business." And he said, "Why don't you buy it?" I said, "Well, you're the second person in 10 minutes to say that. Maybe I need to think about it." So I called her back and said, "Could I follow you around and, see what it entails?" And she said, "Sure." So I followed her around for a couple of days and I was like, "Oh, this looks like fun. This is a fun job." Okay, so I'm going to buy it. So I followed her around for a couple of months. We were going to kind of end the year with my books and her books, make it a little easier on the books. And so I followed her around, and I have to say she was maybe the meanest person I've ever met.
I can attest to that.
She was just nasty and nasty to her employees, and they couldn't wait for me to take over, pretty much, right? So we got near the end of the year, and she said, she just happened to say, "Oh, last week I sold $30,000 worth of furniture." And I said, "You sold furniture?" I said, "Why did you sell furniture?" She said, "Because it's still my business and I'll do what I want." I said, "Yikes." So I came home and told him, and I called my lawyer, and he said, the lawyer's like, "Oh, I don't like that." I said, "Me neither, because how do I know what else she was selling behind my back?" So I called her the next day. Well, it took me 2 hours to call her. I had to get up the nerve to call her because, remember, she's scary. And called her and she said, "What, you don't want it anymore?" I said, "I do want it, but I can't pay the same price if you're selling furniture." And she said, "Well, the price is firm." I said, "Okay." She goes, "Okay, bye." I was like, "Eesh." And he's like, "Oh, I bet she's going to call you back. You spent 2 months with her. There's no way she's going to just let this die." I said, "I don't know about her. She might just burn that furniture before she calls me back." And she never did. And I was like, After I licked my wounds for a minute, I said, "I think I can do this by myself. I don't think I need, I think we can do it." So that's what we did. We started our own. And, I always used to laugh. I pull in the yard and his truck looked like Sanford and Son. He'd be singing the Sanford and Son song to me because his pickup truck was always loaded down with furniture from here and there and everywhere. Um, and that's kind of how we started it. It was supposed to be a little differently, but it worked out great. I'm thrilled with how it worked because I was going to have to pay her payments for 3 years, and then I didn't have to do that. I would have had instant customers, but this was better. This was better. And then one of her employees called me after I didn't buy it, and he said, "What happened? Oh God, what happened? Why didn't you buy it?" I said, "Well, I couldn't." I told him the story. He said, "Well, if you ever need help on the weekends or when I'm not working with her, I'm happy to help." So the first few houses we did, Ray and I and Bobby did the houses, and the pickup truck and a U-Haul. And then she found out that he was working with me, and she fired him. So I was like, "Uh-oh, we got to get a lot busier because now I'm responsible for Bobby." So that's what happened. So with little fire under us, and that's how it all happened.
So did when she didn't sell it to you, did she also not move out of the area like she was planning?
she'd already bought a house in Savannah, so she was already planning to move. And I've heard from other stagers that she asked them if they wanted to buy things, but the problem was her furniture wasn't in great shape. It was rough. I mean, and so they were like, they didn't want it either. And then after I didn't buy it, people had said, she has a terrible reputation. I'm glad you didn't buy her business because I would have been digging myself out of a hole. I'm glad to have had zero reputation rather than a negative one. So
Yes. So
it,
you
it all
dodged a
worked out
bullet
exactly how I was
there.
supposed to.
Wow, that's cool. So you started as basically as a customer of staging, the
Mhm.
concept of staging, right? When you were flipping houses, so you learned the value of it from the other side. And,
Absolutely.
and
It makes a
so when
humongous difference.
yeah, and then I
It's
would think
yeah,
that
people
would
they're
did that make it
doing
easier to
a
sell?
what's that?
Did that make it easier to sell to your customers when you could say, "Look, I've been flipping houses and staging made all the difference," or whatever your story was?
Absolutely. Because the main customers of our business they're flippers and real estate agents. Flippers are a hard sell because they are pinching every single penny. Well, I understand that. And then I think when they call me and they understand, oh, she's a flipper too. She gets me. I think that's really helpful. And I think I was in the right place at the right time. We'd both been going to meetings, real estate meetings and real estate investor meetings. And a lot of the flippers already they knew us. So they weren't, then when I said, hey, I'm doing this. Oh, at first they'd say, oh, that's foo-foo. What does putting some pillows and a couch in a house do? Well, I said, you know what? A couple of the big players, I said, let me just do one. Let me do one for it really cheap. Let's see what happens. So we did it. And I remember one of them, the one guy had a little condo over in Madeira Beach, couldn't sell it. So Ray and I staged it by ourselves. I don't think Bobby was available then. We staged it by ourselves. That was a chore.
Stairs.
The elevator couldn't fit the couch. So 3 floors. The good thing I got muscles here, but 3 floors, the two of us lugging couches, lugging everything up. But that one sold for 10,000 over asking as soon as we took new pictures and got it staged. So that guy at every meeting was yelling from the rooftops, okay, guys, I said this is foo-foo. I didn't believe in it either. I'm a believer now. So that was helpful to have some of the big dogs, yelling from the rooftops because a lot of
Yes.
flippers don't believe in it. Well, they do now because it's this a time of real estate is tough. It's hard to sell houses right now, so you have to pull out all your bag of tricks. Staging's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Good job.
yeah, I mean, gosh, we could talk about the psychology of it is huge, both from the seller's point of view and from the buyer's point of view, right? We used to watch all those shows on HGTV,
right.
and you'd see somebody walk into a house and look around and say, oh, and we saw this in real life too. I could never buy this house. I don't like this color. It's like, wait, what? You repaint. It's a
They
room.
make this thing called paint. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just that really impressed upon me how much people they lock into a first impression, and so that first impression is pretty powerful. And you need to make it where they can imagine themselves in your space. That was the big thing I learned. We learned about decluttering from again life experience.
His mother.
Is selling
Okay.
our own house.
Woman
Selling,
had a 10,000 square foot house. Oh my God. It was packed
Full.
to the gills.
Oh,
Boy.
that's a lot. That's overwhelming to
Yeah.
she was
everybody.
a collector.
She was a collector?
She was really proud of her
Oh,
stuff. And
collector.
that's,
Got it.
you know,
Collector.
yes.
I called her the keeper of the dead people stuff.
Well, that's the problem. Once the people
Yeah.
die, who keeps their photo albums and their yearbooks? You feel bad throwing it away, but guess what? You didn't feel that bad, did you?
Yeah.
No, it was quite liberating.
But when you're buying it, looking at a house
That
to try
dumpster
to
backed up.
decide if you want to buy it, you see a bunch of a wall of family photos of somebody else's family.
That doesn't work.
It's off-putting, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to be able to picture your own family in there. Even we tell people, because we also do a consultation that we'll go in when somebody's staying in the house, not just a vacant house that we do all the furniture, but when people are staying in the house and going to live there during the sales process, we'll go in and tell them all the things they can do to get more money for their house and, sell it faster. And even when people have a big S on the wall for Smith or whatever, Like, we don't want them thinking of the Smiths living here. We want them thinking of the Joneses living here. So take all of that down. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand that. Like, oh, people can see past that. They
No,
have a
they
hard
can't.
time.
No.
No,
People
no.
have a hard time seeing past this right here.
That's right. Well, and even his mother on the second house that we sold for them, same thing. I finally had to get the realtor in there going, you got to save me here because I can't get her to do this. And she finally looked at her and said, look, it's not going to sell unless you do this, this, and this.
Yeah, and that's what
I
when
had the
we always
U-Haul
tell realtors,
truck.
we'll be the bad guy. Yeah, we could be the
Yeah.
bad guy for you. Let us
Yep.
tell them all the things like that. They listen to my
Yep.
shirt says stager, so they think that I know more about it than a realtor. Whatever gets them to do it and take
Doesn't
care of
matter.
all this.
Right.
Yep. Yeah,
I
realtors love
didn't
that
care.
service when they do it once. They're happy.
Right. I didn't care how it happened because it needed to happen. And because we did that one so well, the people that were buying it bought all the furniture.
Oh, really? Perfect. That solved another bunch of problems, didn't it?
It did. I mean, they kept everything in the kitchen, and it was like, whoa, I like this, because they were moving in with us. So we had, so it was good.
Wow, that was win-win-win.
Yeah. And an extra $10,000 in their pocket.
Triple, quadruple win.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one of those questions that's not on our standard list, but Ray, you very quickly said to Andrea, why don't you buy it? What did you know about her that made that, come out of your mouth so quickly?
Well, I mean, she's a super hard worker. She's always been a really hard worker. And when she taught, her and her girlfriends, the teachers would come around and they just complained all the time. It was always complaints about the kids and the teachers and they just
Frustration.
yeah, they just all seemed like not all of them, they all seemed like hate it in their own way. And so when we were going to buy her business, the money we were going to put down for that, then after being with her I was only with her for a day, and I told her, I said, I just can't be around her. The way she talks to me, and we're trying to buy her business, and the way she was talking to her employees, I said, I just can't be around her. So I told her for the money we were going to pay down, we could have bought our own furniture and done it ourselves. So that's why I was like, why are we doing this? And to stroke her a check for 3 years, knowing that she was going to have her hands in it, and just be the way she was, it wasn't the route I wanted to go, and she didn't either. So it really worked out well, doing it that way.
Teaching, you no matter how hard you work, you're making the same money. So that gets a little annoying after a while. He's
Yeah,
like, I'm working so hard and not making any more money.
right.
Your own business is nice because the harder you work,
Yeah,
the more money you make. It's
right.
Yeah, and she's much
But
happier. I mean, she's a
financing it
lot
or
happier
buying
now.
it from, so buying it from that other person would that have been sort of like staying on and teaching? 'Cause
Well, I don't. Well, I don't think she would have stayed on teaching, but I think it just it would have killed us to write her a check, just knowing that for 3 years she was always going to be kind of meddling in the business. So just to do that, I'm like, let's just do it ourselves and cut her out.
So how do you two work together? What's the division of power, so to speak?
So I still have a W-2 job. So I still
just keep insurance. We need insurance somewhere.
Right. Yeah. And I've been with my
Understand?
company 25 years. So, I'm kind of established and not going anywhere, for now. Um, but on the weekends or at nights, I mean, a lot of times after work, just the other night, she needed to go do something at the house, and her and I ran and, moved some furniture, did a couple things. So I help her on the weekends and, other ways I can, and around the house and, things like that.
So you listen real well.
Yeah, I try. If I don't,
Good
she
job.
takes the ruler and hits me on the head.
Right, the ruler. I gotta get that teacher ruler out.
There you go.
So, did you have kids still at home when you started, made the transition from teaching into this business, or from
I have still
flipping
a
it?
17-year-old. I have a 17-year-old. He has a 28-year-old, and so he's out and be adulting. But yeah, my 17-year-old's still here. So yeah, and it was an interesting time. It was COVID. It was, starting a business during COVID is a little wacky. Um,
Wow.
but it all worked out. It all fell into place the way it was supposed to.
Nice.
So, what have you learned that you wish you had learned before you started this?
I wish I would have done this a long time ago. I didn't. It's funny, when I told my dad I was going to be a teacher, he didn't talk to me for 3 months. He was so mad. He's like, "Oh my God, you are working." My dad has his own business. My mom has her own business. Like, this is not what we do. And I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't think teachers have a great reputation. They're always striking. They're always this. They're always that. And they kind of have that feeling of them. And I just thought he knew, oh God, so you're going to be stuck. You're going to start making 25,000 a year. And I was making 50,000 at the end of 20 years of teaching. After 20 years of experience, 50,000. I knew he knew I could do more than that. Um, and, and is it a wonderful profession? Absolutely. Do I have really good, warm, fuzzy feelings from it? He always tells a story when we go out to eat and the server will be like, I think you were my second grade teacher, and now they're grown up, and that's lovely, lovely to stay in the area that I did teach in. So I do have wonderful feelings about it. But I just darn it, just it got it, it kind of has gotten not the same as it used to be. We used to be able to do, when Gasparilla time came, we would do make pirate punch, and we turn it into a math lesson and do fractions, and all of that kind of went away. It's if we catch you doing Fun Friday, don't do, like, God, it's the last 45 minutes on a Friday. They're seven. They're seven. Like, I felt like our job as second grade little kid teachers, we make them love learning. Then as they get older and it gets harder, they already have the love of learning. If we are beating them up in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, guess what? They're never going to love it. And that's what I felt like. I was like, I'm part of the problem. So yeah, so I feel like that's what I learned. I really wish I would have done it earlier. I wish I would have had the nerve. I had girlfriends that were not in teaching, and I'd complain about it, like he said, and they're like, why don't you do something else? I go, there's nothing else I can do. I am a teacher. Inside of me, I am a teacher, and that's all I can do. And they're like, no, you can't. You can be a corporate trainer. You can be. I was like, no, I can't do any of that. Like, that's other people can do that, but not me. I'm a teacher, and that's it. So that's the big lesson. I wish I would have had more confidence in myself, um, to branch out and do it. So, but I did
Well,
it
the
now,
right
so it's
time, the
okay.
right
I wasn't
place.
80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Another question we like to ask is, so what's something you've learned about the other person? You guys have been together for a while. You've known each other a long time. What's something you've learned about each other from the staging business, working together, that you didn't know before?
Well, for me, I always knew she was a hard worker. But since she's got her own business, I mean, she is like really a gritty worker. And I tell people, I mean, she gets out there, she'll lift couches. She doesn't just fluff pillows. She's in there at night, uh, giving bids. And I mean, she really is a hard worker. I really haven't seen another female like that work as hard as she does.
Oh, thanks.
She really is.
I come from a long line of coal miners in Pennsylvania. Like, everybody was a coal miner. They're hard workers. It's
And she does correct me when I don't spell things, and that's one of the things she liked about when we first got together. When I was texting her, she goes, "Your spelling is on point."
I know he was a good speller. I
So,
like that.
yeah,
Sometimes it's those little things, isn't it?
that's right.
I didn't have to get my red marker out and circle anything.
Right.
What I learned about him, let's see. So I really appreciate how much he'll help me, and, like, anytime things come, and he'll help me, like the other night when he didn't feel like after work going to a house and moving things around, but he still did it. So I'm very appreciative of how much he'll chip in, um, when I need him to. So it's awesome. Very giving and considerate of me, and I appreciate that.
Cool.
What would you tell another couple that was either considering going into business together or already in business together? What advice would you give them about the working together, balancing the family and the business?
It's hard to balance.
It is. I mean, for her especially, because her son's younger, mine's older. I mean, but I love Chase like he's my own. Um, and we work well together with that. But Yeah, it's you just have to work together and have a very good balance. You like balance, you know.
Trying to. It's hard to have a balance having your own business. It's definitely.
Hmm.
I'm kind of my plan isn't to do this forever. It's to go balls to the wall for like as long a few years and then sell it. I'm not planning to work like this forever. I kind of just I feel like I have catching up to do since I didn't make a lot of money. So I can catch up, sell the business, and start doing some other things. So
Yeah, and do something you love. I mean, like I said, you know, the house flipping was fun at times because we were like, oh, we make good money, then we lose money. But doing the staging for her, she loves it. I'll try to throw my 2 cents. Like, what about this picture? She's like, no, it doesn't match.
stay in
I
your
think it
lane.
looks good. I mean, I got actually one thing here at the house that's like it's my flavor, but everything else is hers. So I'm like, whatever, whatever you want. But yeah, just a couple that, you know, just find something you like to do and do it and work hard at it, you know?
It does make our lives a lot easier when I'm happy. I was pretty grumpy with teaching, pretty grumpy. So, yeah,
And
it's fun. I
exhausted.
mean,
Oh,
exhausting. Yes. I mean, I get to go to Home Goods and shop and it's a write off.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fun. This is definitely a fun profession. And it's funny because every woman, he always says that every time we go to yard sales, because I'm a big yard sailor, thrift shopper, all that. Every woman I tell what I do, like, oh, that sounds like the most fun job ever.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
everyone.
they really, if I had a quarter for every time,
Oh, yeah.
I'd be retired by now because and it is a blast. Like you go in and you help people get their houses sold faster. They're happy.
Hmm.
Everybody's, making more money on their house and it's great. I love it.
Well, and you also not just do it for sales purposes, correct? You also help. Like if somebody has been in their house a while and can't seem to get what it is their vision out of their head into their room, you help with that, correct?
Yes, that's kind of a new thing that came from lots of realtors when we'd go in and do those walk and talks and tell people what to do, a couple of realtors afterwards would say, I'm not moving out of my house, but can you come over and do that for my house? And I'm not even leaving. I'm like, yeah, I guess I could. So and I have other stagers that do it too. And so yeah, everybody's loves that too. So I'm kind of starting to spread the word about that it's a fairly new service, but yeah, people sometimes just have a hard time. Well, with staging, they can't figure out, like if it's a blank room,
Hmm.
they cannot do it themselves. They just don't have the imagination to figure out where to put it. They're good at other stuff. Let us handle this for you. So just tell you what to do.
She also does, she probably won't tell you, she does some work with some charities, like the Joshua House. She gave some furniture and donated some
Great.
things to that, the women's shelter. So, which is, I think that's really dear to her heart, do some charity work,
Yeah, that makes me
which is
happy
really
to do
neat.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know what Joshua House is. It's a children's
Hmm.
home in Lutz that is,
Yep.
the worst of the worst has happened to these kids. They've been taken out of their homes for a million different horrible reasons. And so when I was teaching in Lutz, the kids that went to Joshua House would come to our classrooms. So, they'd leave with a garbage bag full of their stuff, and that's how they would get there. I really always felt good about helping those kids. And then now I'm like, oh, now I can still help them just in a different way, bring them dressers and beds and whatever. So that really makes me happy to be able to help them in some way rather than just decorate houses, but make their lives a little happier because they've never probably had furniture that matched or had maybe not even a comfy bed. So now they do.
And their own
Nice.
space.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. But I also want to bring up something that you said on the business side of things. Recently, I heard you at a meeting that we both attended where you introduced what you do, and you were proud, rightfully so, that you had just this summer, been able to take a month vacation away from the business, out of state, and the business ran fine without you. And first of all, I want to
Kudos.
celebrate that and salute that.
Thank
That's
you.
huge. There's an author, in case you or our listeners don't know, there's an author named Mike Mikhailovich who wrote a book called Clockwork, and it's one of a series of 6 books that he's written about entrepreneurship. And in Clockwork, one of the things that he gets business owners set up to do is they put it on the calendar, plan for that 4 or 6 week vacation, and then make it happen. It may take a year, it may take 18 months, but put it on the calendar, and that's the goal. And you mentioned selling your business. The reason I'm bringing this up, because, one of the things that, I hear business brokers talk about, I've read books about it. It's, if you want to sell a business, it's got to be able to run without you. If you're the business, you can't sell it, right? Because you can't sell yourself and leave.
Yep.
Right.
You're the
the
bottleneck.
keeper.
You become the bottleneck. So being able to
Yep.
do what you did, I mean, that's like a huge step towards building that, showing that that business can run, is saleable, that you've set up systems and so forth. So is there anything that you would share about how you made that happen that others could learn from?
Sure. I am definitely still working on those systems. I didn't go and never get a call. But I definitely could go on a hike and I didn't have to worry that things were falling apart. So I have been working really hard to get things in place. Now, do I have an incredible team? Oh my God. Absolutely. Bobby that I stole is still with me, almost 5 years later. And he tells me he's not going anywhere until, they're putting him in the ground is what he tells me. And he's 62. So he's not super young, but he's still, he loves it. We have a great time.
He's a
But
grinder too.
yeah. So yeah, I definitely had to get a lot of things in place. I had to, that's it. The number one thing was that great crew that I could depend on, and I don't really stage myself much anymore. The crew goes every day. I send them the list, take this furniture out of this house, put it in here. And I don't even really check to make sure that that dining room table will fit in the next house. My crew looks at the house they're taking it out of. They make sure everything's good. Then they make sure that if they have to stop at the warehouse and get a smaller table or a bigger table or whatever, they handle all that. I don't have to micromanage them. I don't have to do any of that. They're real live adults that handle it. And it's absolutely wonderful. Um, I definitely want to get a lot better at automating things. I've kind of listened to podcasts and things like that say to, get an answering service that'll answer the calls. I don't think that's the best idea for me because I feel like when a new flipper calls me and they tell me this is their first flip and they found me on Google, I'm like, your first flip, good for you. I'm so excited. Like I make a big deal out of it because I know it's a big deal. And I
Yes.
don't think an answering service is going to care about that.
Nope.
And then I tell them, hey, do you know about some of the investor meetings in town? They're like, no, I haven't gone to any of those. I was like, well, I'm going to send you a list. I have a list of investor meetings I send to them. So I feel like that kind of stuff. I feel like I just need to answer the phone. I don't think I can farm that one out, which is fine with me because I like that. I like talking to, the realtors. I like the whole real estate, wild, wild west of real estate. It's a crazy world and I like it. So, yeah, so I've gotten some things in place. I'm still, well, every business is a work in progress, right? That we're all we're all trying to get the right systems in place. So I'm now expanding and doing more of those walk and talks. I'm kind of thinking about expanding it a lot, like Sarasota, Orlando, kind of get that. So I definitely need to get things in place to have that because I can't answer every call for that one. So yeah, so I'm a work in progress
All right.
with systems.
Well, it
But yeah,
sounds
still going away
it
for a month was a biggie. That was a big deal.
sounds like the big piece of that was you trained people so that you could trust them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you must have hired trustworthy people first of all, or figured out a way to, manage that, who stays and who goes. But then you're trusting them. You're turning it over to them and letting them do it. So you're not a micromanager.
No,
Right.
I'm definitely not. They
We've
handle
had a
it.
lot of those in our lives.
Really? They're trying to control every single little thing. That's hard.
It is
That's
hard.
not fun for anybody. Not fun for
No.
the employees, not fun for the boss,
No.
not fun for anybody.
So
So
that was never a challenge for you to overcome that tendency to it's
Yeah,
my
at
business.
the
I need to
beginning-
have my hand on everything.
a little bit. At the beginning, when I was doing all the staging, it was two movers and me, two movers and me. And then, I'm a big universe believer. And I think at the exact right time, a girl came to me that I was actually buying something from her on Facebook Marketplace. And when we were going back and forth and she told me where she lives, I was like, God, that's like a half an hour away. I said, do you ever come over by the outlet mall? I live right there. She goes, oh yeah, my son lives around the corner. I said, can I pay you $10 extra and you bring it to my house? She goes, yeah, sure. So I went to the door, got it, and I had my shirt on. And she said, are you a stager? I said, yeah. She goes, I just retired and I would love, do you ever need any help? And she's been with me now for 3 years. And so you just never know where the exact right people are going to come.
Exactly.
Well, the universe is going to bring them to you at exactly the right time. And she is fantastic. I am, oh God, so lucky to have the people that I have. So yeah, the hiring, I didn't even seek out the people. They kind of came to me like magic, but
That's
I don't think it
because
was
you are
magic.
open and you're willing to work with people. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, they want to be the boss instead of
No,
it
I'm good
being
with,
a collaborative. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm good with not. They are so wonderful. I don't need
Yeah.
to, and I feel like I am kind of controlling, but,
In
but
that oh so
for that,
special way.
You see, I didn't say a word.
Well done, Ray. See, right there is a trick. Right there's a secret. Observe.
yeah,
If somebody's
I
listening
think
to this
they've
on
proven themselves
audio,
to me. They've proven that they can do it, and I don't need to be there watching them
Exactly.
every minute. So
Right.
they're, probably a little bit of me and a little bit of them. We all just really click very well
Right.
together. It's a great crew.
Good. Good job. Good
Thanks.
job. Is there anything you would like to pass on to somebody that's either considering being a stager or just having their own business?
Um, I would say you can do more than you think you can do. I think that was my big thing was, darn it, why did I not think I could do this? And I could. And so,
Yeah, and I think over your lifespan, you're taught to be a good worker, pay taxes, and they don't really teach you to kind of be an entrepreneur. So I think it was
No.
always in her. She had it, and just the opportunity arose, and she just took it by the horns and ran with it.
my dad knew I had it, but I didn't know I had it. So, and luckily I feel like my son has it too. He's working on buying laptops. He fixes them up and flips them and flips them. And I'm like, yes, right. He's gonna be he's gonna be following in the
Fabulous.
footsteps. I'm really excited about that too. Yeah. I could see
Good
the
job.
twinkle in his eye. He gets really excited about it. So
oh, that's wonderful.
Good job.
Something else to celebrate. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Yes,
spending
thank
this
you.
time with us. This has been
great.
great.
Thanks for
And
having us.
we will make sure that we put contact information in our show notes for how to reach you if somebody's local, or if I don't know, you could wind up going into consulting if somebody called you from out of state and said, hey, I need some help with this.
If I have to fly there and help them, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'm a
you know.
giver.
And I could go along with you and carry your bags.
Okay. I might need help. I might need some
There we
more
go.
help. Okay.
That's right.
Good. It's a good plan.
Glad we got that settled.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
guys.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Bye.